10-1 mark here in this building for K-State this year. And the Wildcats' only loss coming at home to UConn in a game that was, in fact, somewhat close after a disappointing start in the first quarter. And that'll be a key for Baylor. Can they get off to a fast start on the road in Bramlett Coliseum, a notoriously tough place to play? Lisa Mattingly, our official today to lead things off and control the tip. Baylor has the first possession to go against K-State's unconventional defensive look. They usually play a zone, a 2-3s look. And right away, Baylor to the outside, and K-State the rebound off the miss.
And for Baylor, the ability for them to attack the zone, Brian, off the dribble into the gaps. That's where they're going to have to cover space. You cannot allow them to get their feet set, but they want to put it on the floor and attack.
Shannon Martin coming off a double-figure effort at Iowa State. The Wildcats got some points from unexpected places, but here's where they want to go. Lewis put it on the ground, got in some trouble, misses the shot, and the rebound to Baylor, wearing the black today.
She got the position inside, which is exactly what Kansas State wants, but you can't fumble that pass. It goes, again, to the shoulders of the backcourt for the Wildcats to get the ball inside.
Wildcats look like they're playing a 3-2 collapsing zone almost, and Lewis intercepts the pass.
You've got to take up space, and you really are going to force Baylor to have to beat you from the perimeter. It is not where they necessarily like to go. It's not their comfort zone. The post is, and now Kansas State with an unforced turnover inside.
Well, Baylor lives off of turnovers. Jones in transition, a pull-up jumper. The Bears coming off a win against West Virginia, 79-73. But many people think that's the scare that perhaps will get them motivated back towards 30-point wins.
It was the first time they've really been pushed, especially in conference play. And we go back to how you attack the Wildcat zone. It's not about the three-point shot for them. It was not really that impactful. They were just 3 of 10 in that win where they knocked down 79 points from behind the three-point line.
Speaking of a three-pointer, how about an unexpected three from Karila Middlebrook, just her 5th of the season, a 15% three-point shooter.
She's been quiet in terms of scoring the basketball the last few games, but if Karila Middlebrook can get hot from the perimeter as well as off the dribble and to the line, that's an added benefit for this Wildcat offense.
Davis touches the ball for the first time. Wallace, not much rotation on the ball, but nothing but net.
And that's one of those quiet assassins for this Baylor team. She has changed her role, and they've put her out at the point this year where she has been lock solid. And for them to be able to give her shots and for her to score points is their added bonus.
Brown rebounds the miss from Lewis, who's had a couple of good looks, yet to score. Jones left wide open. Unable to connect. Brown blocked from behind by Lewis. Another block for the all-time shot block leader in K-State history, 7th in the Big 12's history.
You go back 13 points, 5 boards versus West Virginia for Brown, and you're going to see the rebound, and then just a great decision that time by Lewis to come in from the backside. You got to push, you got to shove for position, and that's going to be critical tonight. You've got to keep Baylor off the offensive glass.
Well, Jeff Mittie pretty open about how frustrated he was with Bree Lewis defensively against Iowa State. They really hit K-State hard in the paint. Uncharacteristically bad defensive effort for the Cats inside. Wiesman in motion. Let's go a 3, and the ball saved by Jones dangerously underneath the hoop, but right to Wallace.
And early substitutions for K-State, Kayla Goff and Eternity Willock into the ballgame. I think Jeff Mittie looking for a little bit more offensive firepower outside.
Prince left wide open. K-State got a little bit mixed up defensively, and Alexis Prince, who averages double figures, hits a three-pointer.
She's shooting just 25% from behind the three-point line in Big 12 play, but you cannot allow her to get the hot hand. She can be deadly from behind the arc.
Middlebrook hit a 3 earlier. That's the only bucket so far for K-State. Wildcats just 1 of 4 for the field, and a couple of those great inside by Lewis. Middlebrook trying to hit her again. Instead now to Willock, the freshman. Splitting a double team, up strong off the window. And Willock, who did not play in the first meeting between these two teams down in Waco, scores.
And she's got the size advantage against Davis and went one-on-one with that post move, but you got to be able to take the contact and finish. That's what you get from the freshman on that possession.
Prince, a heat check, feels another three-pointer. Alexis Prince, the redshirt senior, with a back-to-back three-pointer.
And from opposite corner, so against the zone, she's moving on that baseline, Brian, and you've got to get out and contest.
Quick feed into Lewis, who got great position, shorts the shot. And the rebound, a foul on Willock for K-State. Let's take a look at the keys to victory brought to you by Kansas Lottery.
Well, the board game is a huge factor here because these Baylor Bears are dominant. A plus 24 margin on the year on the backboard. You got to keep them off the offensive glass. Everyone has got to put a body on somebody. Speed and tempo. We've talked about how Baylor wants to get you sped up, get out in transition, create some offense with their defense. You got to handle possessions and you got to execute. You want to make them uncomfortable as well.
Lonnie Brown, a long jumper. And the 6'7" sophomore has her first basket.
And that's really one outside of her comfort zone. But if you're going to give her that shot from the free throw line, that's what it is, a 15-foot jumper. You got to get out and contest. Right now, they're picking their poison to force Baylor to beat them from the perimeter.
So many weapons for the Bears. Jones into the lane. Drops it out wide to Wallace. K-State scrambling defensively, and Brown, after all of that, gets left alone inside. She's got back-to-back hoops.
You've also got to find the fight tonight, Brian. Another key, I think, for Kansas State. And here early, 14-5, this Baylor team trying to put the knockout punch here. Can they do it? And for Kansas State, they just haven't been able to find a way to score. Baylor's been off to the hot start.
Yeah, 6 of 9 for the field, a couple of three-pointers. And Jeff,
you cannot be afraid to take the contact. Get to the free throw line. She's shooting 75% in Big 12 play from the line. Take advantage. Put yourself there. Give yourself a chance to score.
Wildcats have dipped into their bench again with Kaylee Page, who had a good effort at Iowa State with 4 three-pointers.
Page in the ball game, it adds an additional perimeter threat because she's been shooting the ball better from behind the three-point line. They're going to have to honor that. Hopefully opens up that inside for Kansas State.
Jones sensing Prince has the hot hand, and she's right. Prince is 3 of 3 from behind the arc.
And she's been in the corner. That's where Alexis Prince is going to be. You've got to get out and find her. And if she's out there spread out, she's running that baseline, you've got to get out and contest. Shaylin Martin with her hands in her pocket. You cannot guard a shooter with your hands in your pockets.
Let me flip it back the other way. How about Alexis Jones going from the role of shooter to this, to distributor?
And it's all about knowing what your role is. How can this team be successful? And if I'm Jones, you say, hey, find the person with the hot hand. I'll get my looks. I'm going to get my opportunities. But Alexis Prince, she's the one right now who's got to touch the basketball for Baylor.
Martin has it pickpocketed by Jones. Jones looking for Prince again. Reversal over to Wallace. K-State giving her lots of room. Jones, the southpaw, a 3. And the rebound battle underneath will be won by K-State.
And that's a great example of how every position has to block out. All 5 Kansas State players, you've got to put a body on someone. They will crash the offensive glass. That is where Baylor makes a living night after night.
Wildcats have gone over 2.5 minutes now without a point. Baylor on a 10-0 run. Wiesman into Brown, had it blocked. Now already a couple of blocked shots for Kalani Brown.
And they're looking for the ability to go one-on-one, but if you're Kansas State, you're going to see the rub-off, and there goes Wiesman. But Brown just holds her ground, and she's right there, and that's the key factor, is that they are big and physical. You have to continue to attack.
A little bump, but it's Big 12 play. It's going to be physical. Now Nina Davis just rips it out of the hands of Lewis after an offensive board. The Bears looking to capitalize on a 10-0 run.
And when you get easy turnovers, then you control the speed and tempo right where Baylor wants it here to start this ball game.
Davis and all 5 starters for Baylor have touched the ball and scored the ball on the offensive end. Timeout.
She was dealing with the size and the aggressiveness of this Baylor postgame, but it's also about how they play within themselves, Brian. They take every possession, and you look at that field goal percentage right there. It is all about efficiency and firepower, and that's what Baylor has, and Kansas State right now does not have an answer.
Wildcats 3.5 minutes without a bucket. They've missed their last 6 shots. Lewis has another one blocked. Lauren Cox, the superstar freshman, is in, and she'll hit her first jumper.
And that depth, 40% of the scoring for Baylor comes from their bench, and that is a great example. You look at a player like Lauren Cox, she's averaging almost 11 points a game in Big 12 play, can step out and shoot that 16-foot jumper. That is a big weapon for a freshman post.
She had been on quite a roll before the West Virginia game where she was scoreless. That ended what had been a stretch where she had averaged over 14 a game. Cox, the national #1 recruit in the high school ranks coming into this year. Willock lost the ball. The shot clock winding down. Willock trying to get off a shot at the buzzer. Does. It rattles in and out. Martin, the offensive rebound. K-State trying to stop a 14-0 run, and Jones another steal. The Bears off to the races. Jones all the way to the basket. How did she get that up and in? Alexis Jones with a little how do you do? Man, what a layup.
And you see how quick this Baylor team is, especially their guards, just so active out on the perimeter. They make it difficult. Again, the third now pass on an entry trying to be made to Bree Lewis by Shaylin Martin, and it's a turnover. Kansas State has to value the possession.
Well, the Wildcats with 5 turnovers and a 3-pointer for Lauren Cox. Timeout, Jeff Biddy.
And this is all
2 points a game in the first quarter of this season. They've really come out and put the hammer down on people, but this is something even more than normal. The Bears have come out and hit 11 of 15 shots, 4 of 7 from behind the arc, and they are not a team that necessarily relies on the three. And they have totally taken away K-State on the offensive end. The Cats have done 5 minutes without a point. Willock saves it to Lewis. K-State tries to get another opportunity with the shot clock under 10.
Yeah, it did not hit the rim, so now you have to get there's no reset on that shot clock.
Lewis misses point blank. And the Wildcats on the other end, 2 of 14, have already burned 2 of their 4 timeouts to try and slow this 19-0 run. Khadija K finally misses for the Bears. Cox gets the rebound. I think Willock took a shot to the face as Prince misses a jumper. Cox, a turnaround jumper on the baseline, is able to catch.
Why the possession wasn't stopped, and really K-State was going 4 against 5 because Attorney Willock was not in there to rebound the basketball. And you're going to see her take a shot here on the rebound. Lauren Cox, 6'4", the freshman, gets inside. As we said, you've got to move them out. No one really had a body on her, and it came right across, and I believe they almost hit head-to-head, it looked like.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so Lauren Cox, her forehead hit Eternity Willock, and I think what happened was she got stunned and really kind of a little disoriented about where she was. But because Kansas State didn't have possession and Baylor stayed with the possession, that's why the whistle never blew, and that's just unfortunate timing for Kansas State's part. But they do not get a stop and play. And then Baylor's able to score a bucket and push this thing up to 28-5.
A 21-0 run over 5.5 minutes by the Baylor Bears. Middlebrook trying to drive and get K-State some points somehow, some way. Carwila Middlebrook has been a big part of K-State's attack that has seen more free throws attempted and made than in 6 seasons. And she's at the stripe here to try and in this run.
And she's been a key factor of that, and ultimately because she's willing just to put her head down and go right at the defense. And we've seen in multiple games throughout this season so far how she can affect the pace of the game as well as the ability for K-State to kind of stop the bleeding. She does it right there to finally put Kansas State up with a couple points here to close out this first quarter. But what they have allowed Baylor to do is bring and give them the punch, and they have not punched back.
Jessica Sheba will give Bree Lewis a breather for the end of this quarter. The Bears, though, looking to make a statement, have done that on the road here against number 25 K-State. Remember, they won at number 23 West Virginia earlier this year by 30-plus points. So they have done it to almost everyone. Wallace starting the offense up with less than 10. Got stripped as she went inside, lost it. Middlebrook taking it away. And a jump ball between Shebel and Prince. Or excuse me, and Wallace will give K-State the ball. And this actually will work out for Baylor because now this means they'll get the ball to start the second quarter.
You look at where Baylor sits, they've got 4 players right now shooting 50% from the field in league play on average. That is efficiency, and that's about great ball movement. When you lead the nation in assists, it's about sharing the basketball, finding the open player, you make the next pass, you do the little things. And for Kansas State, then you've got to be more active. You got to get them out of that comfort zone, and they did not do that in the first quarter.
Jessica Shebel will start the second quarter in place of Bree Lewis, who is 0 of 5 from the floor. Middlebrook has been the really sole source of offense for K-State. She finds Shebel down low, but Jess dribbles off her own foot and then commits the foul, trying to get the ball back. That's just the second foul of the entire game, both on K-State. Shebel's first.
And I think if you're Jeff Mittie, you're looking for who's going to come and bring it inside. Somebody's got to want to fight. Somebody's got to want to battle position after position or possession after possession for position. Want the basketball, look to score. Can't put it on the floor inside. inside. They're too quick, too active. You got to take care of the basketball, eliminate the unforced turnovers.
Davis with that unorthodox shot will miss. And the rebound to K-State. So back-to-back misses by the Bears. A little bit of an encouraging sight that they are indeed human, not robots, in case you were wondering.
But even on a miss, Brian, the tough part is you got to take advantage. You've got to be able to make something happen on the other end. And again, now back-to-back possessions. They fed the post and given the ball to Jessica Schiebel, but nothing has come of it. And so now something's got to change. And what is that? You got to have a post player who wants to catch and be fierce and go at him inside.
Baylor looking to make a statement on the road. Prince has had a hot hand early, turns down an open three now. Now she'll take it. This one will be in and out. And Middlebrook doing it all, cleaning the glass. K-State looking for some offense.
Yeah, she knows right now they got to find some easy buckets. They got to find an easy way to score. And there's Bree Lewis getting sped up, and that's where you don't want to be. Because you don't want to be now three turnovers, the last 3 possessions by K-State post players. 2 by Schiebel, 1 by Lewis. You get stops, you got to make them pay on the other end, and K-State has not done that.
Three-pointer miss, a chase for the rebound, and we'll get a foul on the floor. This might be on Kindred Wiesman, who tried to slide and get the ball but could not. That's a foul on Wiesman. K-State, by the way, on the offensive end, counting back to the end of the first quarter, they got 2 free throws late from Carolina Middlebrook, but they have not made a field goal in over 8 minutes.
And those are the type of scoring droughts. I think when we go back and when the women's game was in 2 halves, 2 20-minute halves, that used to seem so much greater to say we haven't scored in 8 minutes. Now when you break it up into quarters, maybe it doesn't feel as much. But I tell you what, you cannot go that long scoreless against anyone, let alone the #2 team in the country.
Prince makes the basket. 11 already for Alexis Prince.
Alexis Prince, one of those players in the Big 12 who's having a fantastic year. Spent the first couple of years of her career at Baylor injured. She really was never 100%, but I think what you're finally seeing, and one of the added dimensions for the Bears, is a healthy Alexis Prince, her ability to score and be a difference maker inside.
Lewis trying to go aggressively at Kalani Brown. Had it blocked. Brown just racking up the block shots here in the early going against K-State. That's her 3rd. Linda Davis blocked by Eternity Willock out of bounds. Here comes Cox back in for the Bears. As we take a look back at Brown. Great Willock block.
Yeah, she comes over from the weak side, a bit out of position. They're trying to fade up, but you got to stay low on that baseline. You want to cut off the pass, and you've got shooters out there as well.
Cox the offensive rebound.
Too easy for Lauren Cox on that weak side board, Brian. Someone's got to put a body on her, force her out of position. She's able to just tip it to herself and keep the possession alive. And again, there, follows her shot. You don't block out. They keep the possession. They've got 20 on the shot clock.
Coming into this game, even with that 6-point victory, that narrow victory over West Virginia, which was such a surprise, Baylor is averaging 31.5 points per win in Big 12 play. It would be a record pace, even going back beyond the Brittany Griner years. I mean, they have never been able to pound teams the way they are right now. And this is a conference that's among the top 1 or 2 in the nation. Middlebrook, Goff got an easy rebound, the easiest shot of the night for K-State, and that misses.
I think that spells for Kansas State what it has been so far this evening. Not having a lot of confidence and not being able to handle what Baylor has brought possession after possession. And there just has not been an answer here in this first half for Baylor, but especially for Alexis Prince.
Who gets us another steal for the Baylor Bears. They're 8th. And a foul on the layup attempt for Davis will get her to the free throw line.
And that's what Nina Davis does. She takes the contact and she gets to the rim. She is a beast on the offensive glass. And you're going to see Prince with a great defensive play. And then Wallace does her job. She gets out in transition, feeds players filling the lane, and that's Davis right there. And this is where she has made a living as well, is at the free throw line throughout her career. An over 2,000-point scorer at Baylor for her career so far, with so many more games to play this season. And this is and it's an unorthodox shot. A lot of people have looked at her since she stepped on campus and think, how does that thing go in? But I tell you what, when you over-practice something that looks looks like that, I tell you what, it goes in, and she's done it time and time again.
The amazing thing about Nina Davis, first team All Big 12 pick as a freshman of the year in the league, the Big 12 player of the year as a sophomore, and she is, what, option 3, maybe 4 on this team right now? I mean, they're not even looking for her to score at the same level as she did in the previous years. Gets the rebound here off another miss of Bree Lewis, and Baylor not stepping off the accelerator. Another talented freshman, Natalie Cho, for the first time, misses a 3. And a rebound to K-State.
And finally, a big defensive board by Bree Lewis, who just has been struggling on both ends to be aggressive and be physical. This Baylor team has gone at her possession after possession, and she really has not found her groove yet tonight.
Eternity working on Davis, got her up in the air, but has nowhere to go and has to get rid of it. Shot clock at 10.
And those are the possessions, I think, if you're Kansas State, you want Eternity Willock to go up. You want her to look to take that contact and see if she can't get to the free throw line. But on a feed on the opposite side, they finally get a bucket, and Bree Lewis gets her first points, just 1 of 8 tonight to start this game from the field.
So that ends what had been over 10.5 minutes without a field goal for K-State. As good as Baylor has been offensively, we haven't talked much about their defense.
And that is where they continue to, I think, shine a little bit more than people really think. But so much of it is about when you lead the nation, when you're one of the top scoring margins in the country, and you've got a rebounding margin of plus 21 in conference play, how you just dominate people on the glass. They don't talk about your defense a lot, but look at that block out right there by Christy Wallace. She moved Bree Lewis, who's 6'5", out of the way with no trouble whatsoever. That's domination right there.
Well, they only allow 50.8 points a game in addition to scoring
1 of 8 from the field. And so I think the key factor here is you got to continue to go. You got to feed that post. And if it does fall on the shoulders of these Kansas State guards, you got to be able to get that ball inside. You got to be able to take care of it. You got to know that you can't put it on the floor. It's got to be quick. It can't stick in your hands. There's so many things going on here, but you've got to find a way to fight and get that ball inside.
Lainey Page, a seldom used shooter off the bench for K-State, is in. She'll miss a 3-pointer. It was deflected, it looked like, by Khadijah Cave. And here come the Bears back the other way. Baylor not only playing so well defensively with the deflections and the blocks and steals, they have not yet committed a foul.
That again goes back to how do you continue to go position after position, possession after possession. And it's firepower and the people that they bring in each and every time. So you can just funnel people in off the bench if someone's in foul trouble, or you give them a rest. The one player that you can see that Kim Mulkey relies on probably the most right now is Christy Wallace. She loves how she is managing the game at that point position. She herself, a very successful point guard. All of her great Baylor teams have had very good point guards to be able to lead the show. She does that here with young players and veterans.
Well, that's the interesting part about this team, Missy, is that many people think Baylor, as good as they are, well, it must be because of veterans. And that is true. I mean, you got Prince, who's a redshirt senior, as you said, gone through some injuries. Davis is a senior. Jones is a senior. But they had the #1 recruiting class in the country. Everybody thinks that's automatically UConn every year. Not so. Baylor's had it the last couple of years. Cho and Cox. I mean, and then you got Brown's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
I mean, the future very bright for the Baylor Bears.
It's a young roster with experience that leads out front. And so they're able to be able to manage some of these tough situations. Road games against UConn, to be able to fight back and to get that win against West Virginia and stay undefeated in the league, that they battle and then they go after each other day after day in practice, and it teaches these young players how you compete. That is the one thing that they do at Baylor, is they compete each and every time. And we're seeing that here tonight. They came and put the pedal down and have not let up.
K-State got a bucket to end an over 10.5-minute stretch without scoring. And the first foul of the game on Baylor comes now on Alexis Jones on a rebound foul underneath.
And Bree Lewis trying to get inside position there. You're going to see the miss on the long 3 by Kindred Weisman, trying to make something happen off the handoff. And Bree Lewis just active inside. And Jones was a little bit late. Gets whistled for the foul.
Page, a difficult attempt. Taken out of here by Baylor. Davis looking to step on the accelerator. Not the best shot for Baylor. Bears have cooled off a bit, but still shooting 52%. Wiesman gets an and on, and we'll get a chance at the line as Dakia Cohen gets called for the foul.
And one of the few possessions for Kansas State where they've been able to control that tempo and really push things a little bit and get Baylor out of position defensively where there's no help and it's strictly one-on-one. And she goes against Cohen to draw that foul, and now is a chance at the three-point play.
And there have been a few points that have been positive for K-State so far in this game, but that's one. The Wildcats with back-to-back possessions that result in points. They had just one field goal over a 13-minute stretch there between first quarter and second quarter. And are shooting just 4 of 25 from the field. That was Wiesman's first points of the day. Now another block for Lewis against Khadija Kay.
Kansas State on the last couple possessions doing a better job of matching up, but then also helping on the high screens, staying in your position. Again, pick your poison, but really packing it inside.
Page's pass off the mark, intended for Lewis.
Trying to feed the post, and it is there, and we've said it now time and time again here in this first half that they're going to give up that position to Bree Lewis, and they gave it up to Jessica Schiebel when she was in the game late in the first quarter and early in the second. So you've got to be able to make that pass inside to give her a chance to score.
Prince caught in a bit of a double team. Jones going into Wallace, and it's deflected. Brown saved that on the baseline for Baylor. And a whistle away for the ball. Martin with a flop inside gets an offensive foul called on Lauren Cox.
Well, and Kansas State is matched up a little bit man, but they're also switching and sagging inside, and you're going to see Cox, and she just pushes hard right there. Give credit to Shaylin Martin, holds her ground. That's a mismatch size-wise. She's got her hands full down low. Kansas State trying to find that answer, not necessarily the lineup that you would think Jeff Mittie would go with, but he's seeing if he can't find somebody that can put some points on the board.
Looking in for Lewis again. Over Brown, able to score, and Lewis finally started to get some offensive touch.
They play behind her so you can get the ball inside, but you got to complete the pass. Finally, that 1-2 punch inside-outside, Lewis is able to score.
Prince, who's had the hot hand today for the Bears. And a foul on Martin. Tough matchup now with Baylor running Cox and Brown both inside. The Cats just don't have the numbers with Woodlock on the bench with 2 fouls.
Well, and now that Kansas State has gone man-to-man, that's going to be a tough matchup for Shaylin Martin. And so you're going to see Peyton Williams, the freshman, come into the ball game to see with a little bit more size inside. She sits at 6'3", probably a better physical matchup size-wise against Cox. But again, there's a reason why Lauren Cox was the National Player of the Year last year in high school. She's going to post up big. She's going to want the basketball. And once she gets it, she turns quick, and she makes a quick move to score.
You know, early this year, K-State saw Cox, of course, the first Big 12 game of the season, and then the first few conference games. Cox really struggled with the speed of the game, and the Baylor coaching and administrative support staff all talked about how, well, they didn't know if it was going to be a year where she could make an impact. Now that's changed dramatically as of late. Yet another steal for Baylor. Wiesman recovers to knock it out of the hands of Prince, but bumping up against 10 steals in this game already for the Bears.
And 11 turnovers for Kansas State, and I think that's the number, if you're Jeff Mittie, that just is so discouraging because they have come at inopportune times where you're looking to feed the post or get yourself a good look in your possession, and then you have a bad turnover. You've got to value the possession. You don't have to necessarily play mistake-free against Baylor, but you got to be pretty darn close.
There is little room for error. Wiesman off the screen. Defender went under. She gets an open look at a 3, and Brown cleans up the board. K-State just 5 of 28 from the field and 1 of 7 from long distance. Cox, a follow shot doesn't go, but she'll get to the free throw line.
She ran the floor in transition off the miss. Baylor pushes it up, and Lauren Cox catches it on that low block, and she's able to score or be able to catch, to look to score so easily. But when you have a mismatch underneath and your post players don't get back, now all of a sudden you're out of position. She follows her shot, and she's back at the free throw line for 2.
How much of this tonight has been Baylor offensively just hitting shots versus they're just dissecting whatever K-State's trying to do?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, unfortunately, because they are so solid in their offensive execution. As we see, they do not turn the ball over very much at all. Just 5 turnovers tonight, and a couple have been in transition. But what you like to see is that they move, and there's a reason why they lead the country in over 10 different categories, one of them being assists. They share the basketball. They make the next pass. They find the open player. They feed their posts, and their post players are patient. They make quick moves and they go. If they don't have a shot, they're looking for somebody else. So I think for K-State, they tried to pick the poison. Baylor got hot, and then you got to make that adjustment. And once you get out to such a big lead, it's difficult to find the answer defensively, but they're going to have to continue to look for it here because there's a lot of game left.
There is. A few seconds left, though, here in the half. Wiesman takes a look at the clock. Laney Page going to let go a deep 3 and miss. And the rebound to Prince out of bounds with the time expiring will end the half. Not much better in the second period for K-State. Kim Mulkey's team much of a threat of losing that title. K-State will start the second half with a little bit of a different look. Kayla Goff, Eternity Willock the ring for Shaylin Martin and Peyton Williams. Baylor the same way they started the game. The Wildcats change it up a little bit. They go right to work with Lewis. And with the left hand, unable to miss or unable to hit, Davis blocks out Willock.
And about execution, as we said just a couple moments ago, Kansas State did exactly that. And they were able to set some screens, get good ball movement, and get a shot for Bree Lewis. She just could not finish against Kalani Brown.
Middlebrook shut off as she tried to drive past Wallace. Willock coming for the ball. They're working against Davis and scores.
And one-on-one against Davis. Willock has had success. She had a bucket in the first quarter, and now here one to start the third. She's got a size advantage, and because she's got great footwork, she has the ability to post up and go strong against the senior Davis.
It was K-State's jewel of their recruiting class coming in. Highly touted out of Canada. Brown slams into Lewis and gets her 6th point.
You know, Kansas State really not in a lot of foul trouble. Bree Lewis with no fouls in that first half. I would like to see her be a little bit more aggressive defensively. She's got to play with more energy, and she's got to be more physical, especially here against these post players. Really force them to have to work. Don't make it so easy inside for the Baylor opportunities to score.
Yeah, easy for us to say it. It is tough. I mean, you're being asked to shoulder the offense and the defense, essentially, but you're right. Cats need more. Middlebrook has hit 2 threes in this game. She had 4 all season.
That one comes from ball movement. They get rotation against the defense, and you get the ball moving quickly. Don't stand. You're going to find open shooters.
Alexis Prince, 19 points, a season high in conference play. Goff lost it going up on a reverse layup try. Middlebrook sensing another opportunity. In and out, no, just missed. Lewis got the rebound and got tied up. And the arrow goes to Baylor.
Yeah, battle there with Lewis down low, and I think we see a little bit more energy out of this K-State team coming out of halftime. The conversation with Jeff Mittie, I'm sure, is you've got to battle. No matter what it says on that scoreboard, this is going to be about a little bit of pride, not only for yourself personally, for this program here on your home court.
Brown spins against Lewis, and the foul committed by Lewis is her first. Brown so quick for her size, 6'7", but not, you would think, in looking at her, someone that can move this fast.
No, you're absolutely right. And when she gets going, she's able to put those feet down and go quick. And that is great coaching, but it's also about athleticism. This young lady controls her body and uses it in exactly how you want to see a post player do it. Be big, call for the basketball, and take up space. It makes her difficult to guard, especially one-on-one with no help on the backside.
2-time Miss Basketball in Louisiana, McDonald's All-American, and #1 center in the nation coming out of high school. Last year, a member of the Big 12 freshman team, and another good night for Kalani Brown, 8 points.
She had a double-double when they played UCLA, who at the time was ranked in the top 10 in the preseason. She had 25 points and 19 rebounds against UCLA. You want to talk about numbers and unassuming numbers when you think about the other firepower that they bring in the post, right, possession after possession. She's just the tip of the iceberg for Baylor.
Not only those numbers, 25 and 19, she had 6 assists to go with that line. A foul underneath as K-State tried to play it in. They're going to get Davis with her first on a hold underneath. Some impressive stuff from Kalani Brown, who wasn't even the first option for them in the post last year was Beatrice Montpremier, who's not here tonight. This performance from Baylor occurring without one of their stars in regular rotation centers, and Beatrice Montpremier, who's the backup center at 6'4", the sophomore from Miami. Out with a sprained ankle. Not expected to be serious. Woodlock, good challenge. Takes away Brown's opportunity with a blocked shot. Lewis, the loose ball.
One of the few times we've seen that good help side rotation from K-State. Again, making that adjustment from halftime. You've got to be in help against these Baylor posts.
Middlebrook right into Lewis. Good position, misses the shot.
And there again, possession after possession. They've gotten touches for Bree Lewis. She just has not been able to finish. 2 of 12. And then you see how Baylor takes advantage. When you've got a miscue off a miss or a turnover, they go right at you. They take it down the floor, and they go quick. And Prince off transition. She now has 21.
Third career 20-point game. Goff got hit hard as she went up for the shot. She's headed to the line as Prince commits the foul, but a big night for Prince. Here's a look at the foul.
And Wallace gets tripped up, but Prince comes over and gets the rip. And I'm surprised they haven't looked to review that, possibly, but they're going to let it go, and Kayla Goff is going to go to the free throw line.
That is very surprising. Clear shot to the face and head of Goff, and not even a look for the officials. Goff will make the second free throw. That's her first point. I'm sure that will be mentioned at some point in post-game and a video sent into the Big 12. Not that it matters in the grand scheme of things at the pace of this game. Wallace a chance at a three-point play.
And one of the few possessions where Christy Wallace is taking it to the rack, and it comes from that high screen from Brown, but she sets it not on the baseline side, but on the high side. So you're coming into the middle of the lane where you think there might be help, but Lewis comes over late on the check. And by that time, Christy Wallace, who was so good to be able to score off the dribble, she makes them pay and knocks down the free throw for the three-point play.
Top player in Australia a couple of years ago, a member of the Big 12 freshman team, her first year, and it's been a year where she's taken a reserve role, as you said, more of a support role as opposed to scoring. Willock had a good look but missed, and then commits the foul. That's her third.
And that's the possession and a great shot for Eternity Willock. Catch at the high post, turn, look, and score. You can't get much better than that for Kansas State on the execution in their half-court offense. But she just isn't able to finish. And it's a fake on the handoff for Goff. It's not there. And then just too aggressive, comes in over and commits that foul. And Kansas State with a couple substitutions here on the dead ball.
And now they're going really young. Willock and Williams, the two freshman posts, are in for K-State. Jones driving hard, left-hand runner.
One of the few times we've seen Alexis Jones get loose off penetration. She's been pretty well kept in check, but they haven't needed her scoring tonight. That's the key difference. They've had players like Prince stand up, and you've been one-on-one with Brown, and she has dominated down low. So when she isn't needed, Alexis Brown is a support player, but when her number's called, she's ready to score.
Brown with the foul will put Willock to the free throw line. Getting a look at Willock, the freshman, getting a little bit of baptism by fire.
Yeah, she's able to catch, square up, and go. And when you do that, you're going to have to be able to handle the contact. Isn't able to finish, but gets yourself a chance at the free throw line.
You know, you go back to Alexis Jones. One of the questions about this team, and Baylor, of course, moving forward, is what happens when you get in close games and you need a go-to scorer. And what we've seen the last two times down is that as good as they've been with shooting, they do have the ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket and get their own shot with an Alexis Jones or a Christy Wallace.
Well, I think that's what their offense is really made for, because as we saw early in this ball game, Kansas State was in their zone and they beat them from the outside just with ball movement and knocking down threes. Now that the Wildcats have gone man, you see it's pretty darn simple. It's a high-low look with high ball screens and people off the dribble drive. And if you can get to the rim, great. If not, you stop for the pop-up jumper, exactly what Alexis Prince did there for her 22nd and 23rd point, where you feed it into the post. It's not a difficult system. They just have so many weapons, and that's why it's so good.
Willock Make it Davis that touched it out of bounds. So K-State gets the ball when we return.
See that dribbler coming at you, you got to move without the basketball. And then to go one-on-one against Wallace across the lane. Dribble drive penetration has opened up the floor for Kansas State in many ball games. And Karila Middlebrook's the player that has done that. You need that sort of leadership from your backcourt, and especially from your senior point guard.
6th double-figure game of the year, but pickpocketed as she tried to inbound. And the 10th steal of the game, Alexis Jones gets her 4th. And a three-pointer off the bench from Calvion Landrum, who was the least mentioned of the freshman class for the Baylor Bears.
A highly touted group of young ladies that ended up in Waco, Texas. And right now you're going to see some different lineups and different looks, knowing this is a great opportunity right here for Baylor to get these players some experience on the road.
Khadija Cave, a tough foul as Peyton Williams gets the call and gets to the free throw line.
And she's going to go one-on-one, and Cave, she's backing up, and I think that's the key factor right there. She didn't necessarily hold her ground, and then she came in over, and that was the call. It wasn't necessarily that she jumped and bodied her up or hit her on the arm. She came down with her 2 arms on Peyton Williams, who misses the first of the 2 free throws.
Yeah, players often will think that they're staying in that rule of verticality, right? They're staying vertical and true, like the field goal post, straight up and down. But you go back and look at the replay, a little bit of contact in the body just naturally brings those hands down and results in a foul. There's Cox, who had a couple of jumpers back in the first half. Cave with another rebound. Woodlock trying to knock it away. Did at least force Cave to dribble on the end line, and the Wildcats get the turnover force. Woodlock getting a lot of minutes here in the 3rd quarter as K-State's gone to the youth lineup.
Cave, the 6'3" senior, she's probably the most quote-unquote athletic of the post players for Baylor because she's probably a little bit leaner, a little bit more long than whether you look at Cox or you look at Brown. But her ability to rebound the basketball is what sets her apart, I think, of any of the other players on Baylor's roster.
State trying to make something out of nothing. We'll get to the free throw line with Peyton Williams.
And
you know, one of the other
plays, you got to make them happen. You know, those are those 50-50 possession. You got to go after it, and that's where I think you got to continue to have the fight. You got to have a sense of urgency here. No matter what that number looks like on the scoreboard, you got to battle possession after possession.
Peyton Williams has missed all 3 free throws she's taken. She's been a 73% shooter from the line this season. There you see her season numbers. Freshman from Topeka. She'll rattle in the 2nd free throw to get her first point. A couple of subs for Baylor. Natalie Cho back in there. K-State brings Shayla Martin back in. Wildcats have got another stretch here, Missy, without a field goal.
Yeah, and that's the toughest thing is you can't have the dry spells. We saw it in the first half where they got looks and you just couldn't score, and that's when they put themselves in a very deep hole. But here again in the 3rd quarter, the issues continue, and that is just not being able to find a way to score easy buckets or get yourself a chance in the half court. And Baylor's ability to put it on the floor and create right now is the biggest issue, and they're attacking possession after possession, high screens and going one-on-one.
Cox, an and-on chance.
And right there, Lauren Cox, you see how agile she is off the catch. She's able to go right up over the defense, grab that basketball, and finish. And as a freshman, not much bothers this young lady. And you said it earlier, Brian, she was kind of struggling to start Big 12, I think trying to make that adjustment, but finally coming into her own. She comes in off the bench, playing that supporting role in the post is fitting her perfectly right now.
I'm here to tell you, December 29th, that was a completely different person, Lauren Cox, from this Lauren Cox that we're seeing right now. This is the much anticipated star freshman. Yes.
And I think that's part of it, is you have to have 1 or 2 days. It might be a game, it might be practice, where things finally start to click. And that's the confidence builder, especially for a freshman, and even more probably so for a post player, because it's so much more physical, and it's the battle and the pounding and the jockeying for position every single time.
You're not facing the post players that you see in Division I in high school, right?
No.
I mean, even at the high level, even in AAU, you're not seeing the talent that you see in the college game.
You're totally right. And I think the other thing you have to keep in mind, any freshman on the floor tonight playing anywhere across the country, male or female, keep in mind it's almost the end of January. Their high school seasons are getting close to being done. Some of them are going to prom in another month. That's what they were doing last year at this time. So this is the adjustment, is the kind of the grind of Division I basketball. It starts in September when you set foot on campus, and it doesn't really end until the springtime. And so that's a tough road, and you got to learn to manage that. And I think someone like Lauren Cox finally finding her way, and Baylor couldn't ask for something better right now.
Just another scoring option for the Bears. Middlebrook has 12 points. Nobody else on the Wildcats have really contributed except Willock, who's on the bench with 3 fouls and 6 points. Cox against Lewis. Landry with that foul moment ago was her second. Cox showing the range again. 15 off the bench for Lauren Cox.
High ball screen for Baylor's offense, and instead of rolling to the bucket, she just pops right out to the top of the key. They don't come out at contest. She knocks it down.
Lauren Cox with those 15 points has done it in 10 minutes of game time. And then blocks Lewis, but gets called for the foul.
And that
wasn't on Cave. They get Cox.
Yeah, a little bit more on the body there by Lauren Cox. You're going to see her be pretty clean up on the ball, but there's a lot of pushing and shoving there, and she does get her on the arm. Sometimes that's a hard one to see, especially from our angle, because we're looking down at it. That the official has the best angle there, and they make the right call.
Lewis with 5 points today. 2 of 12 from the field for Lewis. She does have 8 boards. Second free throw will miss for Lewis. Mulkey letting the rest have it, even in a 40-point game. Cox a three-pointer, narrowly missed, but there is a rebound put-back attempt for Cave, who will get to the free throw line. Khadijah Cave, the senior from Georgia, who in her own right has been a star for the Bears over her career.
When these two teams matched up at the end of December, Brian, one of the key factors was the total domination of Baylor on the glass. They were able to get 22 offensive boards that night, and they continue that this evening. Not as many offensive rebounds, but it has been all about being able to get yourself on inside position and give yourself a chance for second opportunities, whether that's extended positions or easy putback. That time Cave, weak side, rips it out and gets herself to the line.
Missed both free throws. One of the only mistakes today for the Bears. Lewis threw a double team against Cox, able to roll it in.
Yeah, one of the few times you've seen the double come from the weak side with the guard, and she's able to just sweep the ball right through, rips it through strong to score on the weak side.
Baylor has gone mostly reserves here this third quarter plus. And Lewis gets her third on the defensive stand. So you got Baylor's essentially second and third fives here going against K-State as we get another look at Lewis the last time down.
Yeah, feed from the corner from Peyton Williams. She makes a great bounce pass, doesn't try to go over the defense where they have had zero luck in making that entry pass. You got to use the bounce pass, get her the basketball. She goes through the double team to score.
Laney Page back in for the Wildcats. You see 3 fouls on Lewis. Tough night for Bree Lewis. 3 of 13 for the floor, 7 points, 8 boards, couple of blocks. It's rebound number 9. That's 4 free throws missed in a row by Baylor. That will not please their fiery coach. Trying to hit Lewis quickly. Williams does. Missed the shot. Good follow rebound by Laney Page. Getting in there, mixing it up, and she'll get a chance at the line.
You got to crash the offensive glass, and Page does that from the weak side. And the redshirt freshman finally getting some quality minutes here in a big game against Baylor. And you're going to see them miss. Lewis goes up, can't finish, but Page just comes in. No block out on the weak side by Cohen. And a chance at the line for the redshirt freshman.
Cohen gets the foul, her second. Laney at the line. Page has played sparingly this year for K-State, averaging just about 3 minutes a game. This has honestly been the most extended action for her maybe this year.
And I think so much of it is finding that rhythm. Last year she was out with the injury and had a surgery and did not play at all really, and then had some injury issues at the beginning of this season when practice started and early in the non-conference. It was finding really kind of that rhythm, and then what's the role going to be for that player. And I think now you're going to see she's got some size advantage, so at the 2-3 position she can be a real factor if that's how Jeff Mitty sees her fitting into his system.
Hand check foul on Landrum. Picks up number 3. After a relatively low foul first half, we have seen a combined 14 fouls here in this third quarter alone. And Middlebrook back to the line to add to her double-figure night. She has 13 points, perfect 5 of 5 at the stripe. 6 double-figure games this year for Carlisle Middlebrook, who averaged about 8 points a game in 3 years starting for Alabama as their point guard before graduating and transferring over. 2 years of eligibility left after a redshirt year at Alabama. A rare miss for Prince. Middlebrook explodes to the basket and scores.
And they get the outlet quick off the defensive board and find Middlebrook out in transition, and that's a key piece. You can't hold it, and you've got to go push the action when you have a chance out in the open floor.
The Wildcats have gone man, as you said, man-to-man for much of this second half. And really the second quarter, middle of the second quarter on.
And that was the adjustment that you got to make. When they kind of shoot you out of the zone, which they did early in that second quarter, Jeff Mitty knew you got to go with something different. And it is a struggle sometimes with this Wildcat team to play man. And they don't necessarily always want to do it. But right now, this is where they've had to make some of those stops. And they've been somewhat effective to be able to do that. I think the high ball screen has caused them some issues, but it really does for everybody that goes up against Baylor. That's the bread and butter right there, is they want to set that screen and they want to attack. And we've seen the weapons and how they can score in bunches.
Just 5 seconds or so left in the quarter. Prince trying to keep the hot flames going. The first shooting touch misses. Back-to-back misses for Prince. The first time she's made mistakes all night. All Baylor.
You don't check on the screen, then you've got post players that can pop out and knock down shots. We saw Lauren Cox do it at the top of the key in the third quarter. So it's really about knowing and understanding the scouting report. Don't think that Kansas State didn't go over this. Don't think they haven't seen it on film. They've already played them once this season. So you've got to make that mental adjustment. And I do think this fourth quarter, 10 minutes right here for Kansas State, Brian, this is about the energy. This is about some pride in yourself, pride in your team, and pride in your program. You want to go out on a good note in this quarter here because they have a lot of basketball left here in the Big 12 conference season.
Middlebrook, who's been the really sole source of offense for K-State, with 16 points. Lewis puts it on the floor and has it ripped out of her hands by Jones. They'll say it's off of Jones. Shot clock at 11.
And that's a great example about how quick you have to be. You can't wait. You can't make it a slow move. You've got to turn quick. You can't put it on the floor, and you got to go straight at that defense. If you make it too easy for them to guard you, quick hands, great anticipation. They get pokes, they get steals, and then you're out of your comfort zone.
Jessica Schiebel back in for K-State. Shot clock winding down. Middlebrook forced to take the three. Comes up short. Prince with the ball leads all scorers with a career-high tying 23. Got all of that in the first 3 quarters and really got it early in the game.
Well, she was hot from behind the three-point line. She knocked down those threes in the corner, and then we've seen her a couple times here in the second half take it off the dribble, off the ball screens. And when you do that, it is so difficult to guard, and that's the player right there that I think is the X factor. When Baylor needs a bucket, when times are going to get tough, they're going to go to Alexis Jones, and there's a reason why she's one of the very best.
I mean, she's popped for 30 at the game already this year, 30 and 10 assists in the game at Tennessee. So she's another volatile scoring option for Baylor if needed in any night. She's wearing a shiner at the moment, but that's about the only thing that coming out of here that she'll be remorseful about.
Yeah, Alexis Jones and Nina Davis, 2 seniors on this roster, both the midseason Wooden list, top 25 players, and there's no doubt that they are 2 of the top 25 players in the country.
Schiebel with a big block, working against Kalani Brown, and a tie-up underneath gives the ball to the Baylor Bears.
You're going to see Jessica Schiebel just hold her ground here against Brown. That's that quick spin. Maybe some contact, no call by the official, out of bounds underneath for Baylor.
Davis unable to hit the shot. 8 blocks in the last 7 games for Jessica Schiebel in limited time off the bench. They're trying to make an impact in the game. 71
points here so far, 8:32 to go for Baylor. Nina Davis has just 5. Excuse me, she has just 4 points. And you've got Jones with just 8. That talks about the balance of what they can bring position from position for Baylor.
I mean, it's just frightening. You're talking about 2 of the best scorers in the country.
Neither in double figures.
Unneeded tonight.
Yep.
Laney Page, deep 3.
Get your feet set and move without the basketball. You got to relocate within the offense. And that's what Laney Page does that time. She's getting some quality minutes here tonight. I think Jeff Mitty wants to see, does his redshirt freshman have it in her to play at this level and at this type of competition?
A foul on Schiebel underneath, taking a bit of jersey. Get another look at Laney Page.
And you're going to see where she starts. She's down there in the opposite corner. She just comes around, keeps moving without the basketball. You got to relocate now off the screen, and Schiebel finds her to knock down that 3.
Another rebound for Baylor, but timeout for the Bears.
Well, and as we've said time and time again, year after year in the Big 12, it is so difficult because you beat up on each other night after night. That round-robin schedule can put you be both an advantage and a disadvantage for some teams. It can put you in a spot where you got a chance to really see that strength of schedule and your RPI go up, as well as it can, if you feel as though you've had a good non-conference and then you just continue to have to battle night in, night out and can't get over the hump, it may not make it so easy when it comes to postseason opportunities.
Yeah, Texas Tech would be the one that would fall into that, as is Oklahoma State. Both of those 2 teams have struggled in conference play at times after a strong non-conference showing that had them high in the RPI.
Yeah, Texas Tech going down tonight, and now that makes them 11-8 overall, 3-5 in the league. So those are numbers, and then you have to start looking, and the committee will start to look at things like, how did you play on the road? Were you only able to win at home? Those are the question marks that teams have to answer. And when you beat up on each other night after night, that can get really tough.
Texas Tech 10-1 at home, 0-6 in true road games, now 0-7 in true road games, and had 1 neutral site win. So there's the dichotomy you're talking about with them. Oklahoma State's had a similar sort of success story. Middlebrook's going to get back to the free throw line here, working on a 16-point night. Nobody else in double figures for K-State.
And that's pushing action right there. And Carlisle and Middlebrook not afraid to go inside and go up against the strength and size of this Baylor post game. You got to beat the front line, and then you're into the back line. And that's where Kalani Brown is. But she goes 1-on-1 against Christy Wallace. Just isn't able to hit the first of her 2 free throws.
Wallace gets her 3rd. All right, well, let's just, we're beating around the bush. Let's just get right to it. The 2 teams will meet for the first time coming up on February 6th. Baylor, Texas. Does anybody, is it Texas, can they take down the Bears?
Yeah, I think Texas has some of the weapons that allow you to have good matchups against Baylor. The key factor is I just don't think they have the firepower with their postgame. I think that's where they're going to struggle. I think their guard play can neutralize a player like Jones, a player like Wallace, Davis, even match up better out on the perimeter with Prince than other teams in the league. But I think where Texas will run into trouble is that they just don't have the foot speed, the size and strength to handle the post players that just continue to come at you, whether it's Brown or Cox or Cave or Montpierre when she is healthy and comes back to the lineup. That is 4 top-notch post players that Baylor has on their roster. Nobody has a matchup for that.
Texas has been so very good in conference play. They were too much struggled out of the league, and then once in Big 12 play, even against good opponents, they have put the hammer down, especially on the defensive end. Tonight, the Longhorns on the road at TCU in a bit of a slugfest early, trail by 1 in the second quarter, 29-28.
You know, I like the savviness of Texas guards when you think about players like Brooke McCartney, Ariel Atkins, even some of the ones that coming off the bench. They have a couple of sophomores this year that got good experience last year. And I think that type of savviness, ability to create and score is a benefit against Baylor. But again, you have to be able to match up inside, and you got to be able to rebound. And I just don't know if Texas has the horses to be able to do it.
Again, Baylor playing without one of their stars, and Beatrice Montpierre didn't make the trip because of an ankle. And hasn't mattered much for the Baylor Bears, who continue to roll along. 80-point barrier crossed again for the Bears, and that's usually about the time when they start to take some starters out of the game. Wiesman, a pull-up three, will miss.
Crazy as it is, Brian, this Baylor team has reached 80 points, 5 of 14 from behind the three-point line. It was the three-point shot that opened up the huge lead to start. Since then, but on cue, Jones hits it. But since then, really, other than that one, it has been all about two-point possessions. And
so it is with that background. K-State will inbound the ball and now begin to work towards momentum building. And Saturday, where they host Oklahoma State, a team that is tied with the winless conference Jayhawks at the moment at 54 all with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in Stillwater.
Yeah, battle right now at Gallagher-Iba Arena, and I think Kansas being able to make a comeback. They were down 13 at half, and to be able to get into a tie ball game in the fourth quarter gives them a chance, as we saw players and have seen the ability for KU to get hot in spurts. It's just for them, it's been able to get stops and put a whole game together. Whether or not they can close out on the road is the big question mark.
He's been misfire on a three-pointer. Kindred's had a tough night as well. Just 1 of 9 from the field, 0 of 6 behind the arc.
Yeah, spent a lot of minutes on the bench in that third quarter and early in the fourth. And I think Jeff Mittie kind of trying to send a message that he needs his seniors to lead from the front, and he probably did not get that here tonight. Whether it's your energy, your effort, the intensity, and just plain out production, they really didn't get it, and that's what put them in a hole to start. They had opportunities, couldn't make it happen, and they really allowed Baylor to dictate from opening tip.
He's been trying to get loose for another look. Shot clock under 5. Martin will step around Cox, let it go at the buzzer, and miss.
Baylor's defense continues to have that high energy and intensity. They get out in those passing lanes and they cover your dribblers. They do not allow you to get loose off your penetration. And that's one of the ways that they keep teams in check, is that they do not allow you to get in your sets and to really operate in how you want to run the framework of your offense. You make people uncomfortable. The key to beating Baylor, to make them uncomfortable. No one has been able to do that other than UConn this season.
West Virginia a little bit, but most people's reaction to that game was more Baylor's ineffectiveness as opposed to West Virginia's own actions in that game, taking nothing away from the Mountaineers, who are a team that are ranked in the top 25 themselves.
Well, if I'm West Virginia, I think the bright spot in that, and knowing that you only lose by 6 to Baylor, is the fact that Lene Montgomery was really ineffective, was no part of the success that they had in that ball game, that it came from the other players, both off their bench and their starting 5, their guards and their forwards, who were aggressive and scored off the dribble drive and went at Baylor. That's how you've got to look to attack them. If you sit back and you play tentative and soft, you play right into their hands.
Middlebrook driving and is bodied up. Third foul on Baylor of this quarter.
I think a lot of questions, and their players are looking over at the bench and they're saying, well, coach, where's the foul? But I think you got to know, if you're going to put your hands on somebody, that is the point of emphasis. You cannot body up that way. You got to play with your feet, not your hands.
Thompson trying to feed it in.
Telegraph pass right there, and a great play by the freshman. You're going to see her kick that basketball, and Kelly Thompson trying to feed Peyton Williams, posting up against freshman, Williams against Cox on the low block. You've got to be able to make the entry.
If you're looking for a silver lining, the Wildcats will not play Baylor again this season unless it's in the Big 12 Championship in Oklahoma City. They'll be done with the Bears at the midway point of the conference season.
High-low offense right there, post player to post player, and it's Cox at the high post, and she goes right into Cave. She got great position. Down low mismatch against Mercedes Brooks. It's one-on-one to score.
Baylor, after this game, it's number 20 Oklahoma at their place. It'll be the first meeting between the two teams. And if this is any indication, I'm not sure the Sooners will have enough in the arsenal to slow down Baylor, but you take nothing for granted. But it seems West Virginia was indeed the wake-up call that we all thought it might be for the Baylor offense and defense.
Well, and I think the thing about Baylor is they've been even better at home than they have been on the road. And so now if you're Oklahoma and you've got to go to Waco on Sunday, you know you got to match up and you got to find an answer. One of Oklahoma's struggles this season, we saw it in their game on Sunday in Norman against Oklahoma State and Bedlam, is they just could not score until they got hot late in that ball game and came back on Oklahoma State. So how can they put the ball in the basket and limit opportunities for Baylor? That's the question and the puzzle no one has been able to solve yet in the league.
Foul on Peyton Williams underneath the basket.
Trying to beat Lauren Cox to the spot, and you got to get a step on him and get there first. And Cox pushing and shoving, gets good position. And right there, able to get the lob and finish. We have seen this young lady, I think, come out of her shell even more tonight. And if I'm Kim Mulkey, you say thank you. The #1 player in the country last year as a high school senior, finally becoming what we thought she could be. And that's a huge advantage for the Baylor Bears.
K-State still in the 4th place in the Big 12, even after this loss. Foul away for the ball. Calvion Landry is going to foul out with 2:06 left. Cats, after this, have Oklahoma State here. Then they go to Texas Tech and then at Texas. So a tough stretch coming up on the road. That will largely determine whether K-State can find a way to finish in the top 4 of the league and stay in the mix for hosting a 1st and 2nd round NCAA tournament game. Kelly Thompson to the free throw line to shoot a pair of free throws. And the senior for K-State from nearby Riley, Kansas, and Riley County High School. It's her name in the book with a free throw. And makes both. It'll be a battle, you would think, behind Baylor. Texas maybe 1B. And then Oklahoma, K-State. Does anybody challenge those two for 3rd or 4th? Question now here the rest of this second half of conference play.
Well, and that's as teams get hot, and you see whether or not a team like West Virginia, have they finally found their groove? Is that going to be the question mark for them? I think for Oklahoma and Kansas State, looking at their schedule, now that K-State has played Baylor twice, Oklahoma's got to go up against them the first time here this weekend. Things continue to change. There's still a lot of games left in the Big 12, but I think the key factor for these top 4 teams right now, you want to stay in that piece. You got to continue to build your resume. Look at where you'll be sitting when push comes to shove for postseason, but also into the Big 12 tournament, because you want to put yourself in a good position there. Look at the matchup. Give yourself a chance. You got to get off that first day. You don't want to play on Friday night, and that's critical if you're Kansas State.
Brooks missed the free throw. She'll head to the free throw line. And a chance for Mercedes Brooks to get into the scoring column for the first time tonight. Freshman out of Texas. The Wildcats in their own right making some large gains in recruiting. You have Eternity Willock, who was the #1 recruit in the nation. I'm sorry, the #1 recruit in this class for K-State, one of the top players in the nation of Canada coming in for K-State. And then you've got next year, K-State has already signed the #26 ranked recruiting class. And it's a lot of post players for K-State to try and replace their seniors. So there's a look at Jeff Mitty, who in 3 years seemingly has got this program back to where it is accustomed to being, in the top 25 and contending for a top part of the Big 12 finish.
Well, and it's all about versatility when you look at recruiting, and I think all of the teams within the Big 12 continue to do that, as you've got to be able to have a good balance of your post game and your guard play, and people are looking for that stretch 4, quote unquote. We talk a lot about that in the men's game, maybe not as much in the women's, but that stretch 4 is an added benefit, or maybe a matchup at your 2-3 position with some height and versatility to post in the low block. So when you can find a recruiting class that brings a lot of different things, kind of adds pieces to your puzzle, that's where you're going to see to continue to build success. Jeff Mitty doing that with his class coming in next year.
Kelly Thompson with her 5th 3 of the season and 8 tries, so sharpshooter off the bench. So then Martin takes a charge and a drive by Cave. K-State gets the ball, final 43.5 seconds left of this one.
Well, and she stepped in, and Cave, she took off quick from behind that line, but you're going to see Kelly Thompson get loose here for the 3, just breaks out. No one comes to cover. Switch on the screen. Lauren Cox on the matchup. She doesn't come out to contest, and the senior knocks it down.
Final 30 seconds. Lauren Cox Sends one out of bounds. Baylor's going to get to 20-1. It will be their 17th straight 20-win season. They'll win number 26 in a row in Big 12 regular season games. And overall, they'll win their 18th straight game. Second longest streak behind only UConn in the nation. Brooks in the lane, gets the field goal runner. K-State will fall to 15-6, 5-4. It's their first two-game losing streak in Big 12 play, and they'll try and rebound against Oklahoma State in their second meeting with the Cowgirls in less than 2 weeks, coming up on Saturday night.
Crazy part of scheduling. You might play two people twice. You might play a team twice before you even play one once. And Kansas State now getting all the way through, and they're going to have to rebound this weekend.